of Christine's speech was to persuade us. How many of you were persuaded by her title, Climate Change's Evil Twin? By show of hands. A few of you. Okay. When she started her speech, most of you I would classify as quite apathetic. You were kind of back in your chair. Kay had really kind of calmed us down, brought us down from the high that Drew took us to. And then as she started talking, people became alert, really engaged in what she was talking about. And people's eyes got bigger, people were sitting up. The audience really took hold of what you were saying. I think this worked against you, and I think this worked for you. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. One thing that I think really hooked your audience is when you described 2 different countries in the South Pacific that may not exist. I think that was one thing that we had some kind of geographical context for it. We know what a country is. That was something that you could have elaborated on maybe a little bit more. Whereas other parts in your speech, I think, were very, very scientific, and we might not have all caught the details around it, but we knew it was bad. We got that hurt. You also had a very strong emotional appeal. People have very different values, and I think that you organized your speech in a way where you were certain you were going to hit on someone's core value, no matter which different route you took. So you talked about the environmental consequences of this and what this meant to the organisms, what this meant to the overall oceans around the world. Then you went into the economic consequences of the region and what was happening with the oysters, where the larva was going to Hawaii and then it was coming back here. We don't know what the future holds for that, but that is a huge economic endeavor of the region. And then if that still didn't get anybody's attention, everybody eats. Most people in this area like to eat seafood and shellfish. So I think that was kind of your last point, where if people were not going to pay attention and they were going to keep shrugging you off, that was your last kind of effort to kind of hook them into your argument and persuade them that they should pay attention. I think it was a wonderful speech, and I think that everybody in the room that I could see without kind of turning around was agreeable to what you were trying to do and the argument that you were trying to give them. So by a show of hands, at the end of her speech, how many people were persuaded by Christine's arguments? Okay, I think that you did an excellent job. Good job.